The Eagles are loaded with young cornerbacks. You got Quinyon Mitchell. You got Cooper DeJean. You got Kelee Ringo, who's actually a year younger than Quinyon Mitchell. But there's a chance the Eagles continue to add to that group in the draft this year. Next week, we're talking about cornerbacks coming up next on the PHLY Eagles podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast, PHLY Eagles show, whatever you want to call it, presented by TrueMark Financial. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman. Zach, we are 8 days away from the NFL draft. We are here to talk cornerbacks, maybe a little bit of leftovers from yesterday's Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni session. The All-City NFL draft expert, Fran Duffy, is going to join us, but most of all, how are you doing?
Doing great. Excited to see you. Next time I see you in person, I imagine... Well, we'll see. You might be a father of 3 then. So excited for all that's coming in your life. And just to get it on the record, I prefer PHLY Eagles show to PHLY Eagles podcast because I think a big part of what we do is the YouTube element, being in studio. When I hear podcast, I'm thinking audio. I'm thinking this is bigger than that. Look,
you
at
know
us.
how I feel is what is difficult is when someone asks me what I do. And I say, like, I host an Eagles podcast. Yeah. It's like, then now all of a sudden I got to explain, like, well, like it's more than just a podcast.
Yes,
yes. And that, like, when I go to the doctor's office, and the doctor's looking at me like I got 3 heads. It's like, but that's your job?
Yes.
Like, I know, I am. I mean, it's ridiculous, but here we are.
Well, it's not ridiculous. I think it's
I mean, I would say
work.
It's ridiculous.
It's big time work. It's my life's work. So.
Yikes. All right. Any leftover thoughts? By the way, thank you to Handsome Rich for running the show yesterday. He did a very good job. Were there any leftover thoughts? Because you went right on after Howie and Nick. Anything that was ruminating in your brain that you were not able to discuss on the show yesterday?
Well, I am curious your perspective on some of the answers. I thought Howie speaking about defensive tackles relative to edge rushers, but a big. He had the last sentence of what he said stood out, which is these guys are expensive free agents, which is something that or expensive on the open market, which is something that I've harped on before. That one thing the Eagles put a lot of time I'm thinking about it, and you can say it's overthinking. You can say too much might be made of it, but just as Fran does in his grades, kind of the expected value of the player. One thing the Eagles consider is if they hit on a pick, especially a first-round pick. What's the delta between what that player's giving you and what his actual value is? And so a defensive tackle, an edge rusher, an offensive tackle, it's obviously much greater.
Now, to be fair, I do think you can get in trouble with that.
Absolutely.
I think if you're chasing that too much at the expense of staying true to your evaluations, you can get in trouble that way.
You miss Kyle Hamilton. Yeah.
Right. And so I think, maybe that's a tiebreaker. Yeah. But, at 32 or, even a modest trade up or trade back when, the best players that you want are going to be off the board and you're left to pick the best of what's available. I don't know if it's going to necessarily play out that way. We will see.
I also thought it was interesting hearing Howie talk about drafting at the bottom of the first round, where he said, when you're in that spot, you're not going to trade up for, into like the top 10, 15. So you really have to do your homework. You have to have a sense of how the draft is going to go. We've spoken in past years.
Right. Do you think that means that they just don't do a lot of work on Cam Ward? Why waste time?
Well, it goes to the other question the question I kind of asked for you, which
Thank you, by the way.
But it was a worthwhile question, and I kind of added how does that factor in? How do these draft evals factor in your down the road thinking? And he said they go back to these, and we've seen that, and perhaps they over-index it because when a guy when Terrace Marshall Jr. has 4 years in the league, that trumps his time at LSU. That said, they have this internal database where they keep all their notes, and especially things like whether it's personality or work ethic. So the injury history, they can really go back and look at their grades there. So they do work on those guys. But I think you've really pinpointed, and I think you've done a good job with it past few years, how the Eagles kind of have a target and they'll go and get that target, right? And we've seen that in the past. And when you're at 32, I don't know if you can really have that type of target. You can have like a group of players, and if any of these players are here at 24, you trade up for them. But you don't go into the draft saying you want to land this guy. Whereas when you're drafting number 10, you can say we want to land Jalen Carter. When you're drafting number, 14 or 13, you say we want to land Devontae Smith or Patrick Surtain or J.C. Horn, right? And so I think you have to be a little more broad in your approach when you're drafting at 32.
The other thing I wanted to touch on from what they talked about yesterday is just the Dallas Goedert discussion. I'm trying to think about the next level here, and they're putting it out so much that they're ready to get rid of Dallas Goedert. They don't think he's worth this money, both publicly and behind the scenes, the stuff they're playing out. I find it hard to think that this is not at least 50% a negotiating tactic, and the thing that they really want is for him to come back for a little bit less money. Now, I don't think that Dallas Goedert wants to do that.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the line in the sand that they've drawn. But I don't think that they are as committed to getting rid of Dallas Goedert as they want everybody to think. Also, you just think about it from a negotiating standpoint on the trade front. What leverage do you have if you're telling everybody you want to get rid of this guy?
You're right. I do think the best outcome for the Eagles is Goedert coming back at a lower number. I don't think that's happening, especially after the Trey McBride contract. I hear what you're saying about their approach, and I do spend time thinking about their approach. One thing that it could be is them trying to prepare fans for this, right? When they trade C.J. Gardner-Johnson, it's like, where's this coming from? This could be the type of thing where they want it to be almost expected that he's gone. So when it does happen, it's like, oh, yeah, this is old news. We already knew this was happening. That might not be the case.
Now, there are incentives for the Eagles for this to not happen until June 1st.
There are, from a cap perspective.
Right.
I think the Eagles are kind of willing to take it on the chin with the cap. And there is the thing with June 1st. I'm not trying to educate the fans here. Just the thing with June 1st is the reason the cap number's lower this year after June 1st is because half of that's spread to next year, right? So so you kind of spread it over 2 years. But one thing you might hear from teams is that they want to take it on the chin now to clear the books the following year. So if the Eagles are saying they're not going to be aggressive with cap space this year, they would rather be more aggressive with cap space next year, and that's a different conversation than the cash, then you want to take it on the chin now. If you want that type of flexibility, it does behoove you to wait till after June 1st.
Okay. Do we have our man? Now, if you are a diehard, I hope that you have checked out allphly.com today, because there is a mock draft in there that is not just 1 round, not just 2 rounds, not just 3 rounds, not just 4 rounds, not just 5 rounds, not just 6 rounds, a 7-round mock draft courtesy of the man himself, Fran Duffy. Fran, do you feel like you've birthed this thing into the world, to steal Zach's book metaphor?
I would not quite put it on that scale, nor would I put it on the scale of publishing a book for the 3rd time either. So it was fun. It was a couple 2.5 days, about 3 days worth of work went into that thing. But it's a fun part of the process. I enjoy doing a 7-round mock. I've done it the last few years just as an exercise on my own. So doing it now to be able to publish is a lot of fun.
I have a question about the mock, if I can, before
Please, let's get into
the process.
Yeah.
If you don't mind here.
Oh, yeah.
Because when I do 1st-round mocks, I'm guilty of this, is that I'll do it and I'm like, you know what? I don't like that pick at 13. You change 13 and it changes everything thereafter, right?
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that must be like with a 7th-round mock when you're like, you know what? This 3rd-round pick, I want to adjust that. But then you adjust that and everything thereafter is affected. So that would cause me such unease or anxiety, whatever word you want to use.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I go about it like, all right, I'm going to do pick number 1, and this is what I think the Tennessee Titans are going to do, and then it's pick number 2, pick number 3. If I start thinking, oh well, I really like this player here or that player there, obviously that's not how reality works. But then also I know that if I put that level of thought into each pick in the moment, then I won't second guess it when I get later. Now, at the end of the day, there are picks where, like I got to Mason Taylor, he goes like mid stages of round 2. I'm like, all right, like this is going to be, I put it in the write up. This is later than where he's probably going to go. Like everything I had been hearing over the last few days is that Mason Taylor could go earlier than what we're typically discussing with him. But I live with it. I move on. It's one exercise, and next week I'll have my final 1-round mock draft the morning of the day itself, and so that's where all the final thoughts can be put to paper.
Before we get to the Eagles picks, was there a pick in the first round that you were like, ooh, you know what? I feel good about that one. And it's not one that has been like, super linked ahead of time.
Well, I put the Ashton Genty at Jacksonville. That was off some. I've had a couple people say that is not something that's like that could happen. Is Ashton Genty at number 5 to Chicago?
Well, James Gladstone is
to Jacksonville,
reinventing football, and so he knows more than anybody else who's ever run a draft before. So whatever decision he makes is going to be the right one, I imagine.
Of course. I've heard a lot about I have not heard a lot about Donovan Ezeraku going to Tampa Bay at 19. That's one I feel really good about. Okay. There are a few in there where I'm like, yeah, you know what, like this one, this just makes sense. Tyler Booker at 25 to Houston. Yeah, there are a handful in there. Here's one. The Rams at 31, taking Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State.
I like that.
That is one that I really like that fit. I could see that being a player that they would like, and they would want to try and see if they can replicate Cooper Kupp with what Egbuka brings to the table.
How do you divorce the evaluator from the forecaster when you do this?
I have to, and it's one of those things where, I'm able to separate, like, all right, this is what I'm hearing versus what I'm seeing, and everything that, that's what, if you go into the diehard draft guide and you say that, oh, well, I've got Donovan Ezeraku, right, as my, number 11 edge rusher. But if you go over to where the projected round is, it's like, all right, projected round 1, round 2, it's basically just try and separate constantly between what I'm hearing versus what I'm seeing with a player.
All right, let's get into the Eagles picks that you have here. Let's run through it, baby. At 32, the Eagles are trading down, picking up a 4th-round pick, moving 4 spots, and they're taken at 36 in the 2nd round, a player we've talked quite a bit about, Nick Scorton from Texas A&M. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a player that is, as I think I mentioned, it was last week on the show. Was it Friday that it was Francis's favorite player? How would you feel about Nick Scorton? Oh, he's next to me, just hanging out. But yeah, I think to me, Nick Scorton, he's an Eagles kind of defensive end. I think that he fits with the Vic Fangio style because of his violence, the way that he wants to play the run. I think that when you watched him this past year, he played north of 280 pounds. He said at the combine that he'd rather play in the 260s, which is where he was 2 years ago when he led the Big Ten in sacks at Purdue. And so I think, honestly, like seeing pictures of him now, we saw the Brandon Graham picture when he visited the NovaCare complex last week, is so much different than what we saw from him this past year. I don't think the weight was particularly good on him. Now, he could get up to it, and in an NFL weight room, maybe it looks a little bit bigger if it's done with a little bit more purpose. But I like the fit of Scorton to the Eagles.
Okay, in the 2nd round, ya boy, Elijah Arroyo lasts all the way till 64. They get their young tight end of the future, the explosive playmaking upside.
Yeah, this is a player that he hasn't come in for a visit or anything that we know of, but when you're looking at Arroyo, just the dynamic qualities after the catch, that's something that we've always pointed to with Dallas Goedert. It's kind of a separator for him compared to other tight ends in the game, and I think that that's something that Arroyo certainly brings.
Any thoughts? I'm going to keep going.
I think we should keep going.
Okay.
So we get these. I mean, I have thoughts, but I would like to keep going.
Okay. 3rd round, Penn State safety Jalen Reed. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead.
Yeah.
Different Jalen. Jalen Travis, the big 6'8" offensive lineman at Iowa State who has had a pre-draft visit with the Eagles.
Yeah, Zach, correct me if I'm wrong. Was that one did you break that one? The Jalen Travis?
I mean, let's not act like, that was, I lucked into one. I lucked into
You didn't luck into it. You built over the course of many years a following to the extent that one of your followers tipped you off to it. That's great.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
But yeah, Jalen Travis, I like him on film. I did not think he had a great week in Mobile at the Senior Bowl, but when I watched Jalen Travis on film, this is a guy that's got left tackle, right tackle versatility, big body blocker. He's got great length. I like his power in the run game. I like his anchor at the point of attack, or his anchor handling a bull rush. Started at Princeton, so we might have to have Coach Flynn on if he ends up being an Eagles selection. But I think when you're looking at Jalen Travis, he feels like an Eagles type of tackle. Didn't play football until late in his high school career. Was a basketball player. His whole family were all basketball players. They were all hoopers out in Minnesota. So he was under recruited, goes to Princeton, starts there, then moves over to Iowa State and didn't miss a beat. I liked the film, like I said. So he would make a lot of sense for me.
Also interned for Senator A.B. Klobuchar. I'm sorry, Senator A.B. Klobuchar. So
A.B.?
Amy Klobuchar. Amy Klobuchar. Good story on Princeton's website about it.
Great. We are going to have Coach Flynn on the show on Monday, whether I'm here or not. We're talking wide receivers, so look forward to that. And we can ask him about A.B. Klobuchar. Now, Jalen Reed, you have as one of the 2 fourth-round picks, the safety from Penn State. We're going to talk a little bit about him on tomorrow's show when we do safeties, Fran, with Sean Syed. And then Barrett Carter, the Clemson linebacker we've talked about. Is this a guy who you think could compete to start week 1?
I do, just because I think when you're looking at Barrett Carter, he's a former teammate of Jeremiah Trotter Jr. I think he's more athletic than Trotter. I think that Trotter was probably a little bit more instinctive, maybe a little bit stronger through contact, like defeating blocks. But I think that the upside is a little bit higher with Carter from an athleticism standpoint. I think that they would be fine. Bring him in, let him compete with Trotter for that spot opposite Zach Bond while Nakobe Dean is on the mend. And so to me, that one made some sense there.
It would not surprise me if Barrett Carter, if they took him, he's one of those Red Star players. Because I think there's a lot of like check marks that they would like there.
Okay, I like that. And then 4 fifth-round picks. We have talked a little bit about Elijah Roberts from SMU, who has that sort of defensive tackle, defensive end versatility. Of the 3 other picks, Syracuse running back LaQuint Allen, ya boy, Zach. Ohio State defensive tackle Ty Hamilton. And Virginia Tech wide receiver Daquan Felton. Which of those 3 do you like the most?
I think I liked the Allen fit the most of those 4. Yeah, I think honestly, you guys did such a great job of highlighting in the running back show, like what the Eagles look for at the position and some of the markers, some of the through lines that we've seen with their pickups. And LaQuint Allen, he's a guy that a lot of his value comes on third down in the pass game. He's a highlight receiver, but also contributes well as a blocker. Big-bodied kid, doesn't have a lot of wear and tear. So I think that he checks a lot of markers there for what we've seen from the Eagles and some of the running backs they've selected in recent years.
I mean, your son is a star.
Francis is just killing.
He is a star.
Yeah, I mean, if you are just listening, and this is audio for you, have.
I'm trying to stay locked in. I'm trying. The thing is that I was on earlier today with DLLS and with CHGO and with DNVR, and I was like, look, those guys, because he kept coming over, and I was like, guys, save it for Bo. I was like, just save it for Bo. Bo will be very happy to see you. And he was like, oh, can I come and say hi to Bo? And I said, yeah, you can come say hi to Bo.
I mean, listen, if tough week, school's off. Like,
yes,
you got to do what you got to do. No doubt about it.
Exactly right.
All right, let's take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk corners. Franz, I don't want to speak for you. Favorite position to evaluate?
It's one of my favorites to evaluate for sure. I love watching corners.
All right, well, we're going to do them just after this break. I'm going to tell you about our friends at, of course, you know what it is. We all know what it is. It's our friends at TrueMark Financial. What have we been talking about all month long? 16 days in, we are just killing this financial literacy month. The best of my memory. Financial Literacy Month is when you have an opportunity to do something for your kids. And that is create a free Greenlight account. Because if you are a TrueMark Financial member, you've got a fantastic opportunity to help your kids and teens learn to earn, save, and spend wisely with a free Greenlight account. What is that? Well, it's not just any app. It's a game changer for your kids, whether they are setting savings goals, learning how to track their spending, or even getting their allowance. It's all right there at their fingertips. And get this, each kid gets their own debit card. That's right, they can make purchases, learn how to budget, and build real-world money skills while you stay in control from your phone. You get peace of mind, and they get the chance to make smart, responsible choices with their money. So, If you are looking for a way to teach your kids some financial plays this financial literacy month, I can't recommend this enough. It's like training for life's biggest game. Head over to truemark.com/greenlight. Get all the details and sign up today. Don't miss the chance to set your kids up for financial success.
I have a new one here to talk to the audience about.
Excited about this.
I'm going to give you the headline first, okay? And then I will give you the details.
Okay, let's see how good you are at headlines here.
But no, this is just to suck you in, okay? You can win a Mod Max sectional from Ashley plus a $1,000 gift card to bring your dream fan cave to life, okay? Think about that. So what am I talking about here? Well, imagine you're sitting at home watching the PHLY Eagles show. You're watching 7 hours of draft coverage, and you're sitting in your fan cave, and you think you need a bold new centerpiece. Well, the bold new centerpiece is the Mod Max sectional from Ashley. Now, imagine getting it for free. We've teamed up with Ashley to give one lucky winner the chance to bring home this flexible, ultra comfortable sectional, plus a $1,000 gift card to bring your dream fan cave to life. The Mod Max sectional is flexible, spacious, and it's built for the most die-hard sports fan. Whether you're, and you could be a diehard too, as a diehard sports fan, whether you are hosting movie night, kicking back with the family, or most importantly, game day, I would say most importantly, watching the PHLY Eagles show, this sectional is the upgrade that your space needs. Entering is easy. Just head to allphly.com/Ashley to learn about the contest, see if you are eligible, fill out your info, and you are in the running. But don't wait. These sweepstakes won't last forever. Get your entry in now, and you could be watching the next big game on a brand new Mod Max sectional courtesy of Ashley. Your choice of color, blue or gray, and configuration up to 5 pieces. You must reside within our local delivery area to qualify for the Fan Cave giveaway. Again, visit allphly.com/Ashley for the full contest information and eligibility requirements. Terms and conditions apply.
I just signed up. I just entered myself for the sweepstakes. Go to allphly.com/Ashley. Look at this bad boy. Beautiful piece of furniture. Plus, the added bonus, as people have pointed out, we got to hear you say sex a lot.
Sectional. What? How am I saying that incorrectly? Sectional.
Just saying.
Say sectional.
Sectional.
We say it the same exact way.
I mean, you say it sexier.
Sectional. I'm mystified here. Yeah.
Sucking them in for that sectional, baby. A great piece of furniture. All right. Let's bring Fran back, unless Francis has consumed him.
Emily's watching the show right now. She says you would not let Reed or Sloan do that. I assume she's referring to Francis in the background, not something so with the sectional. Yes.
Yeah. Fran, how do you say it?
Sectional.
All right, let's talk corners. Now, big picture first. Given Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean and the hopes for Kelee Ringo and, a little bit of hope for, what's his name? Who they signed from the Dory Jackson. Do you think a cornerback in the first 3 rounds, let's say, is a reasonable addition for the Eagles?
It's probably not the best case scenario. I wouldn't completely poo-poo it if the player's right? So to me, if it's the value is too good, for instance, I love Shavon Revel, right? The corner from ECU. I love his film. We'll talk about him at some point. And to me, all right, he is worthy in a vacuum of the 32nd overall pick. Would it make sense for the Eagles to take him at 32? I don't know. But at the end of the day, I'm fine with just getting good players. And so when I look at Shavon Revel, I say, yeah, I love the player. I would be really excited by it. I just don't know if it's the ideal use of the resource.
Well, and yeah, the good news is this is a position where you can find ways to get guys on the field, right? If you have too many good corners, that's fine. You will find a way to get them on the field. And I do think that given the way that football works, right, is if you've got one weak link in the secondary, that guy's going to get picked on. And so if you don't think that Kelee Ringo is ready to be a week 1 starting corner and ready for prime time, if your board is set such that a corner is at the top of the board in round 1 or round 2, yeah, like I don't think that that's a bad pick. And you also think about like Vic Fangio's defense, maybe a little bit more back to front. I don't know. I don't think it's crazy. What do you think, Zach?
I don't anticipate them taking a corner in the first round, but the fact that they've brought in corners show that this is a position that, you know, they're not sitting this one out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they are doing their work on it, and it's never bad to have good young corners. My question to you, from a big picture perspective, is where do you think Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean would rank if they were in this class? And Cooper DeJean in particular, he was an early entry, so he would have been in this class had he stayed. I don't mean to put you on the spot on that one. The reason I ask is last year was an abnormality that the first corner went number 22 overall, right? Typically, and we'll see that this year, 2 corners can go in the top 5, top 8 this year. But I'm curious how Quinyon and Cooper would stack in this year's group.
1 second, I'll tell you. So Travis Hunter would be corner 1. After that, I had a higher grade on Cooper DeJean. I had a higher grade on Quinyon Mitchell. And then it would be Will Johnson, and then it would be Shavon Revel, and then it would be Terry and Arnold. So in that order, and then looking at that stack.
There you go.
Yeah.
So there you go. Cooper DeJean would have been cornerback 2, Quinyon Mitchell, and they had almost the exact same grade for me. I had Cooper just slightly ahead.
This is a good like look back flex that you were just a little higher on Cooper DeJean than most people.
Yeah, I loved watching Cooper DeJean. His film, especially taking it in both years, like his sophomore film and his junior film, just because he was dealing with the injury, later on as a junior. He was a phenomenal player at Iowa.
I like the question in the chat, where would Tay Gowan rank? But the other thing we're going to get to it, I think, in the second part.
The Tay Gowan part? Oh.
When we get to the day 3 stuff. I do think that if they don't draft a corner early, which is probably a little bit unlikely, I think I would be surprised if they don't try to add an Avante Maddox type on day 3.
Yep.
A guy who could provide cover for Cooper DeJean, somebody who's maybe a little bit undersized, feisty, zone awareness. Just put that in the back of your mind, and we can talk about some of those guys who might fit that later on. But
sure,
at the top, I don't think we need to spend much time on Travis Hunter. He's awesome. He's going to go in the first 3 picks. I am actually, you know what? I want to know, Zach, what would you do with Travis Hunter?
I would.
Question.
I would play him on both sides of the football until and unless he's not able to do it. I hear coaches say that there's just not enough meeting time in the week for you to play both sides of the ball. I think he's an exceptional player on both sides. I think that he's probably better as a corner than as a wide receiver. But I think that the wide receiver is harder to find in this year's class from my perspective than the corner. Not that should factor into it. But I would try to play him on both sides until he gives you a reason not to play on both sides.
Got to start him somewhere, though, right? He's got a major in something.
Yeah. So I guess you look at your depth chart.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't want to compare it to Otani, but if you can do 2 things well, why take one off the table?
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right, Will Johnson, number 2, from Michigan. 6'2", 194, 22 years old, slightly short arms. Had a better season in 2023 than 2024. Probably not going to be there for the Eagles, but is a player who, like, I don't know if you're thinking about a trade up to like 24. Is that possible? Why do you like Will Johnson so much, Fran?
Yeah, I think that he's great from off coverage, reading it out like Asante Samuel style. Like that, to me, like that is the way Will Johnson
honestly my favorite style of corner. This is so fun to watch.
This is what he does, and he does it at a very, very high level. Now, the thing is that this is the way that Quinyon Mitchell was used at Toledo, and that was the knock on the knock on Quinyon was like, oh, it's all off coverage. He's not there's never any press. He can't turn and run. To me, like the few reps you saw of him in press where he was asked to turn and run and play the ball vertically, they looked really, really good. With Will Johnson, it's not as good. There's questions about the long speed, the recovery speed. There's questions about his feel and how much he panics down the field when the ball's in the air. And so to me, that's why I honestly I'm glad, Zach, that you asked the question about looking at Quinyon and Cooper versus these guys. That was one of the things I felt really good about with Quinyon. And then he goes down to the Senior Bowl and kind of cements it, because you saw a lot of reps where he was asked to do it down in Mobile. We didn't get that with Will Johnson, but to me, that's where he wins: off coverage, read it out, jump throws, and that's where he stands out.
Now, if we take a step back and talk about where the elite corners come from, it's an interesting group, because on the one hand, it is the position where age matters almost more than any other position. I think it's the second most where it matters. However, it's also a position where there is the second highest after guard percentage of guys who come from outside of the Big Five schools. You can find a lot of small school elite corners, and those guys often enter the league a little bit older. Yes. And so you want your premier first round blue chip corners to be young guys from Power 5 schools, or they could be like a Quinyon Mitchell type, or you want to sort of look for the diamonds in the rough later. And that's part of the reason why, without even having watched any tape of him, I'm already with you on being skeptical of Jahdae Barron, who's 23 years old and maybe not elite. How do you fall on Jahdae Barron? Because we know that we've talked with Fran that he's much lower on him than consensus.
Yeah, I feel closer to Fran's side on this, because he's someone who was on the field a lot before last season, right? And he came back for senior year and he got better, and I give him credit for that. But for the reason you said, I think corner, so much of that is your physical attributes in addition to the way you play the position. And I don't think that he was exceptional in those areas before he had a really good year at Texas.
All right. Well, then I want to ask you then about Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky, Fran, who is sort of consensus 4 or 5 corner for you. You're a little bit lower on him. I think he's your cornerback 7. This is a player the Eagles brought in for a pre-draft visit. He is 5'11", 183, so very slight, but young. He's super fast, not super physical. What would attract Maxwell Hairston to the Eagles?
Yeah, I think that that he's got traits for sure. He's a young player, redshirt junior, so not like super young, but a redshirt junior, smooth athlete, fast twitch, ability to turn and close. I mean, broke 4.3 at the combine. The speed is there on film. I do worry about the play strength in all facets. I do think that shows up when he's trying to contend with receivers mid-route. That certainly shows up in the run game. His tackling is kind of all over the place. The run defense, all over the place. For me, when I'm watching him, what makes him just a tick lower for me, and I still give him a starting grade. I think he's a solid starter, but to me, one of the guys that I thought of while watching him was Ronald Darby, where the athleticism is certainly there. He can be frustrating in the run game, but the eyes and the instincts, especially in zone coverage, were kind of all over the place. I thought he was better in terms of, all right, just play man-to-man, lock this guy up and just turn and run with this guy. I think that he can do that. I will say he can be very grabby. That showed up on film. Illegal contacts flags, we'll find him. That was one of the things I wrote down while watching him. And his eyes are always kind of all over the place. Even when he's in man, he'll peek to look back at the quarterback and then lose track of his guy. To me, he looks like a starting quality corner who will just be frustrating, and he'll be a little bit volatile in that way.
I'm curious about someone else the Eagles brought in while we're kind of talking about Eagles-centric players. This is someone who, came to Philly. Bo's been to his high school before. That's Jacob Parrish. Jacob Parrish from Kansas State. I'm curious your read on him, because obviously the Eagles shown a degree of interest here. What?
Just a funny little Easter egg to throw in there.
Bo's been to the high school. I like Jacob Parrish. He's short. He's under 5'10", but he's a densely built corner. He's got inside-outside versatility. He's young, as you mentioned. The production was pretty good overall. He only had he had 1 interception this year, but he had 4 last year. Consistently got his hands on the ball. 9 PBUs in 2023, 7 this past season. I think when you're looking at Parrish on film, good speed. It was a 4.3 guy in Indy, but I thought that speed showed up on film. He covered ground quickly. He can close on on throws in front of him. And I liked his route instincts. I thought that even though that there was a decent amount of press on film, he was very aggressive at the line of scrimmage and showed that ability to play with press. I actually liked him a lot better from depth in that Asante Samuel type of mold there, where I thought that he could really read things and close fast. He was flagged 7 times last year. So the aggressiveness, I think, can be a little bit of a double-edged sword. I like him more in the run game than what I talked about with Hairston. I like him more in the run game than even Will Johnson. But I think that aggressiveness, again, that can work against him at times in coverage.
Does that portend a move inside potentially?
Yeah, I do think that a lot of people do view that he can come inside and be a really, really good nickel corner. I think he could play either. I'm not ruling him out to play on the outside. There are other guys where I feel like, yeah, that guy has to move in. I don't feel that way about Parrish, but I do think that if he were to go to a team, let's say the Eagles wanted to move Cooper DeJean outside. I'm just, if you wanted to move him in, that's fine. If you wanted to leave him outside, I think you could do that with Parrish as well.
I mean, it's a good, without crunching the tape, it's a good profile for Parrish aside from the height. So that's an interesting one. Zach, of the guys who are talked about sort of late first through the second round. So let's say Hairston, who we talked about, Trey Amos from Ole Miss, Azareye'h Thomas from Florida State, Shavon Revel, who we'll talk about, and Benjamin Morrison, who from Notre Dame. Who's your favorite of those guys? I know you've got your
my favorite of those players is Benjamin Morrison.
Okay.
And I think Benjamin Morrison, it's not apples for apples, but similar to Cooper DeJean last year, where he got injured during the season. It took some of the shine off him. Now a hip injury is different than what DeJean was dealing with, so I don't know the details about Morrison's recovery. But I think if Morrison finished the season, if this is a guy who's playing in the college football playoff, he's on every TV set, I think the story might be different, because I really liked him as a true freshman. I liked him last year. 2 years ago with Notre Dame. I just think he's a really good corner who's going to start in the NFL. It surprises me that he's falling down the board, and I have to imagine it's because of the injury.
What do you think about Benjamin Morrison, Fran? He is your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cornerback 8.
Yeah, it's not just this injury though, Zach. It's he actually had hip surgery in high school as well.
Okay.
So it's the second time he's had
Which you would have known if you had been to his high
surgery
school,
on the hip.
but...
Yeah, same high school as Devin Allen, by the way,
Wow.
Former Eagles wide receiver. When you're looking at Morrison,
he's going to be pumped to hear that.
There you go. when you're looking at Morrison, A+ character and intangibles, like the makeup is outstanding. I think that when you watch it, he's got the ability to play press or off. I thought the coverage instincts were solid, not great, not bad. I thought the athleticism, good, not great. I think enough speed to turn and run. Like, I didn't think he had A+ traits. And so that's why coming into the year, a lot of people had Morrison as like a top 10, top 12 type of pick. When I watched him in the summer from off of 2023 tape, I didn't have him quite that high. I still saw a starter, and he needs to get a lot better in the run game. He's not good enough in the run game right now. But again, this is a guy that's got the right makeup. So you think he's going to put the work in to get better there. I do think he's a starter. I don't know that he's a super high level one, but if you've got Quinyon Mitchell, you've got Cooper DeJean, you just need him to not have to be, he's not a liability. You feel good about that.
Just buzzing through these guys. I just wanted to just see how they move and like how they tackle and stuff like that. So, I'm just looking at quick YouTube highlights, just a quick rundown of these guys. Azareye'h Thomas, to me, sort of seems like an Eagles type. Now, 6'1.5", 196. He's only going to be 21 as a rookie. Seemed to me physical and good zone instincts. You can tell me if I'm wrong there, Fran, actually watching the tape. But he did run a 4.58, so you got to be concerned about that. But he seems to me like someone who might be a Vic type of guy.
Yeah, I think that I'm worried about the athleticism.
Okay.
That's my concern with Azareye'h Thomas. He's got good size, good length. He's built like a press corner, but if you're going to play press, you can win with physicality. You can win with technique at the line. You can lock guys up. But part of the reason, if you're playing press man, people look at Trayvon Diggs and Marshawn Lattimore and like, oh, they look at all the yards they gave up. They look at the next gen stats. You're going to get beat when you play press man. Like, the guys are going to win off the ball. Receivers are too good. If you run 4.58 and also he's a little stiff too.
Okay.
I'm a little worried about Azareye'h Thomas from an athleticism standpoint. So that's why I'm also like a touch lighter on him as well compared to others in the space. But when you're looking at everything else, I like the competitiveness. He plays with an edge. I agree. Like the zone instincts are really good. The ball skills on limited opportunities, I thought were very, very strong. He only had one pick the last 2 years, but consistently was able to get his hands on the ball. No panic down the field. I always talk about those routes that break at the intermediate area, like between like 12 and 18 yards, the deep digs, the deep comebacks, the deep out routes. He always reacts to those routes pretty well. It's just the lateral stiffness and top end speed. You could see it at the Senior Bowl as well, like where he just kind of struggled on some of those long linear routes just to kind of recover and keep up. He chose not to work out at the combine, and I think that was a smart move. Kind of put it off to the pro day, and went 4.58. Again, the athleticism is a concern.
But just for context, you still have him. He's your cornerback 5. You have him ahead of Amos and Hairston and Morrison, right?
Yeah. So basically, all those guys I have grades as like solid starters, and he's at the top of that group just because all the other boxes are checked.
Gotcha. Go ahead.
One quick question on someone who would fall in those middle rounds, because this is the Madden player here. This is the one who, if like this is a draft class in Madden, he's jumping out to you, and that's Darien Porter. Like if the Eagles took Darien Porter, fans say, wow, 6'3" and runs a 4.30. That stands out, but then he hasn't really done it he
must be a bad football player.
Yeah, he hasn't done it in a long college football career, but like 6'3", 4.30 is hard to ignore.
Yeah, I mean the traits are absolutely outstanding, and all the GPS numbers. It wasn't like, oh, you didn't play fast. Like all the GPS numbers were really, really impressive with him as well. Not just at the Senior Bowl, but going back to Iowa State as well. The big thing is, and you can excuse some of it because it's like, oh, well, he's a former receiver. He was a receiver when he first got there, but he was the last time a full-time wide receiver in 2021. So it's been 3 years at corner, didn't crack the starting lineup until this year, and then even then only started 6 games. So, he played in a rotation at corner as a 6th-year senior, 3rd year at the position. There's something missing there. I'm letting somebody else take that bet when you get to day 2. There have been like comparisons to Tariq Woolen, like, I didn't see that level of player like on film. The route instincts were very, very up and down. The run game I thought was just okay. Now, the thing that can be the saving grace and is what is going to likely get him drafted at the end of day 2 is that he has been a dynamite special teams player. He's played over 900 snaps on special teams over the course of his 6-year career. And that's more than any corner drafted in the last decade, just contextually. So he's played a ton of special teams. He's got a skill set that'll make him great there. So if he's going to impact that part of the game, you say, all right, then we can bring you along. I just have a problem with older players that are developmental on offense or defense. And that's kind of where Porter is. That's why I'm much lower on him than where he's going to end up going.
All right. Take a quick break. We'll come back and find out who might be those Avante Maddox types and whatever else is going on. Well, listen, the bad news is, honestly, it's kind of good news. There's no more Sixers games this year. And there's now no more Flyers home games. But there's still all kinds of stuff going on in Philadelphia. And you know what the best place to go to is? If you want tickets to those places for cheaper than you can get them anywhere else? I mean, since day one at PHLY, the answer has been Game Time. And they've got Game Time picks, where the curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. You've got the all-in pricing, where you can toggle the feature to show the totals up front with no surprise fees at checkout. The seat views, where you get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. You've got the lowest price guarantee, where Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference, and the Game Time ticket coverage, where your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Bottom line, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem with code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time.
Bo, Bulls Heat tonight. Who do you have?
Heat.
So if you're watching that game tonight and the Heat get off to an early lead, I want to tell you about the NBA early payout offer at Bet365. Because with this Bet365 early payout offer, you're a winner if your team goes up by 20 points with an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. That's at Bet365. That's where you find that deal. Bet365 has 90 million users worldwide. They have early payout offers across the NBA and NHL. They pioneer live in-game betting. I mentioned the NBA games tonight. There's some good baseball games that you can always bet on. I'm going, if the weather stands, to a Colorado Rockies game on Friday. I could put a bet in on Bet365. New customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Win or lose, sign up, use the code PHLY365. Deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get that $150 in bonus bets. Again, win or lose. I mentioned that the new customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, players, props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in PA. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Fran, the one guy we didn't ask you about in that early round group is Trey Amos from Ole Miss. I mean, 23 years old, bad vert. You see some instincts, but he's in your sort of day two range, right?
Yeah, he's got outstanding ball skills, really good to me, really good instincts. He's played a lot, solid run defender. The athleticism on film was just okay, and I was worried about the speed. But he goes to the combine, he runs low 4.4, and he checks the box there. Like it's not great speed, but a solid speed at the position. So I think that I feel more comfortable with him in the second round as opposed to the first round. But yeah, he's going to go somewhere in the top 50 picks.
All right, Zach, do you have a favorite day three guy?
So if Morrison doesn't qualify as a day three guy, let me look up here at some of those players that I was looking at.
Zach, I've heard while you're talking, I've heard some buzz on Morrison to Washington at the end of the first round.
Really?
Still, despite the injury, so he could go that high still.
Wow.
Yeah, that would certainly surprise
Fran, we know
me.
yours is Tommi Hill from Nebraska.
Okay.
He's a corner four.
Yeah, corner four. I just love the film. And the thing is that there is some bad tape out from the end of when he's finished playing. And he basically, he got plantar fasciitis early on in the season. It was like late September, early October. And he tried to gut it out. The film wasn't great, so they had him sit for a couple weeks. He tried to come back early. He got beat for a couple bad touchdowns, and so then they sat him down for the whole season. It goes down to the Senior Bowl against advice from his people because he was not 100% yet. He told me at the combine that he was like under 80%. And I was like, yeah, but I hadn't played football in a while, and I wanted to go down and play. Was just okay at the Senior Bowl. They got him to not do anything at the combine, which was good for him. But this is a big corner with physicality and competitiveness and great ball skills. This is a guy that would have tested very, very well had he been able to participate at the combine. He was on Bruce Feldman's freak list, like 42-inch vert, 4.3 speed. Yeah, like sign me up for Tommi Hill.
This is a good, only if you've really done your homework will you appreciate this guy.
Yeah, I'm surprised that no one else is as high, because I kind of thought like he looks like a top 50 player when I was watching him, and he is that for me. I really, really like Tommi Hill.
All right, I like Fran out on the limb.
I am curious Fran's view on both the Ohio State guys here, because there are players that I've seen, and they're players who typically, when you're from Ohio State and you play as much as these guys did, you would expect them to be a little higher up in the draft. That has not been the case. And so what's your read on those two?
Yeah, I've got a better read on Burke overall. I think I've done one game on Hancock. Hancock has played inside and outside. Just a solid physical profile. Like I wasn't moved overall by the skill set. I know that at the pro day he worked out pretty well, but that wasn't necessarily what I saw on film. So he's a player that I'm hoping in the next 8 days that I can do another game or two just to complete my write up on him. With Denzel Burke, I was really high on him coming into the year. I thought that he was a day two. Like if he had come out in last year's draft, I thought that he could be a second round choice. And so then coming out, I'm like, going into the year, I thought, okay, like he could take that next step and be a first round pick. That was my expectation. And he just didn't have a great year. He had some down moments. I think that when you're looking at him from a physical standpoint, the speed is okay. The run defense is just okay. The ball skills are up and down. So I like the flashes, but that he's just that right now. He's a flash player that I was just hoping would have a better season overall.
All right, the question that I posed earlier about like sort of an Avante Maddox type, a guy who could bring you some feistiness inside, maybe cover for Cooper DeJean there, some zone instincts, some some football character. Who potentially pops to mind day 3 for you?
Well, it's fun. Like Jahdae Barron. Jahdae Barron's no, I think to me, like guys that fit that mold, I would say there are a couple. The one that stands out above the rest would probably be Upton Stout from Western Kentucky.
I had a different guy.
Yeah, very undersized. Under 5'9", just about 180 pounds. Really short arms, 30-inch arms. But when you're looking at the overall production was pretty good, especially this year. He had 8 TFLs this year. That's a really high number for the corner position, and is representative of a guy that is just really aggressive and tenacious and plays downhill. Very willing to run defender. And you watch him on tape, and you absolutely see that. And I like his zone instinct. I'm a little worried about him in man-to-man. Very, very grabby on film, and then that showed up in Mobile as well. He's had a handful of penalties each of the last 3 years, and honestly, because he played a lot in the slot, you kind of have to dig through old film to find examples of him trying to find the ball late downfield and make a play on the ball in the air. And so that's fine if you're a nickel corner. So to me, like I'm a little lower on Stout, like in terms of, I think that a lot of people are like, oh yeah, like Upton Stout is going to be, he should be a 3rd round pick. I'm more in the day 3 camp. I think that he's a really solid player, but I felt the same way about Maddox, and Maddox turned into a fine nickel corner over the course of his career.
I think the guy who fits the description you just had, and I'm curious Fran's thoughts on him, is Kobe Bryant from Kansas. Because Kobe Bryant from Kansas.
You've been to his high school.
I've been to Kobe Bryant, who did not go to college, his high school. I haven't been to Kobe Bryant from Kansas, his high school. I believe, though, he's from Evergreen, Alabama, if memory serves.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
You guys are both just demented.
You always remember Evergreen, right? That's why I remembered it. Yeah, Kobe Bryant. It's hard from a testing perspective to kind of get behind him. To Bo's point, he's a big school player who's been around for a while. He's older, but he was really productive in college. Number one, and number two, he's known to have like the competitive toughness that Avante Maddox had. And so now he didn't play, correct me if I'm wrong, he didn't play a lot of slot when he was at Kansas, but he's someone who can play inside. Is that right?
Yeah, he played under 3% of his snaps in the slot over the course of his career. He's primarily an outside corner. 6 foot, 180 pounds. That might lead some people to think, oh, he is rail thin. I will say, like, I saw him at the Shrine Bowl up close. That was my first exposure to him. I hadn't done one film before then.
Sideways, I couldn't see him anymore.
Yeah, he is really, really skinny. That said, he's one of those guys, like when you're out of practice, he will make his presence felt. Like he is a chirper. He is going after receivers. He is a fun player to study that shows up on film. He plays with a ton of confidence. He's played a ton of ball. I mean, 42 starts, over 2,600 snaps played. I think he's got a better feel in man than zone. I think when you just kind of put him up like tunnel vision, like, all right, lock in on this guy in front of you. He's really good in that area. When he's playing in when he's playing in zone and has to read it out, which the Eagles obviously play a lot of zone, I thought he was just okay. He's been flagged a lot in his career. So again, is another one of those players where you're kind of towing that line between like grabby and aggressive and competitive. You know, he could be a little handsy and just a very inconsistent tackler. And that run defense is going to be a question at that size. And that doesn't get easier when you're playing in the slot. If you're going to move in to the inside, you're getting closer to the action and more in traffic. So you have to be able to play better through contact than a guy that's going to play on the outside.
Would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the other 2 corners who the Eagles have brought in for pre-draft 30 visits, Fran, and that is Jalen Smith from USC, who you have written up. He's your like corner 20-something. And then Justin Wally from Minnesota, who you haven't fully done yet, but I'm sure you're familiar with the kind of player that he is.
Yeah, I'll start with Jalen Smith. Wasn't moved by him athletically. I think that he can get in trouble in terms of being attacked vertically down the field. He's played inside and outside. Like he would be a guy that, all right, this is a Maddox replacement in terms of being like that backup nickel that can be that flexible, do everything Swiss Army knife. I think that's the idea for Jalen Smith. And honestly, like Maddox, he was the player I comped him to was Eric Murray, who was a corner at Minnesota when he came out and was seen as an outside corner, but maybe moved to safety. And he ended up moving to safety, I think year 2 or year 3 in his career, and he has stuck in the league as a safety. So that's how I view Jalen Smith. When you're looking at Wally, he is an off coverage corner by trade, 5'10", 190 pounds, ran pretty well, 4.4 flat in the 40. I do still have to do some work on him. Shrine Bowl, I thought he was just okay, in what I had seen from him up close, but like you said, I haven't done the full write-up. But one of my to-do items here is all the players that have come through visits for all of our teams in the All City Network.
Nice.
I'm going to buzz through a lot of these guys here in the next few days.
I am so impressed. Like,
it's unbelievable.
Indefatigable, man. I need to take some notes from you.
I mean, the indefatigability, I feel like nobody...
I gotta look that one up.
Nobody outpaces you.
No, I know, because it's wearing on my performance. It's not wearing on Fran's performance at all. Like, Fran is he's electric. Like, it's great to see.
People want to know
Pikachu.
what Francis is playing on the Switch.
Yeah, he's playing Pokemon on the Switch. He's got a Pokemon Sword. Francis, you want to show everybody what you're playing?
Pokemon Sword? We haven't dipped into this yet. Probably for the best, but because I don't know if I'll ever see my son again.
Pokemon Sword.
Nice. Is it fun?
Having fun?
Who do you play as?
Yeah. Who's your favorite to play with?
I think Fyrick.
Pyrick. There you go.
There you go. Love that.
I think he gave him a nickname, and that's why I don't know if I don't know if that's actually its name or not.
That's okay.
It's not. Yeah. You having fun?
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead. Sit back down. Thanks, bub.
All right, 2 more, and then
Yes.
I've blown my load. Killer Cow's favorite corner in the draft, I would imagine, the Warlord Bilal Coney from Western Michigan. And then Caleb Ransaw from Tulane, who I know you have graded as a safety. I don't think we're going to talk about him tomorrow, but he's one of those versatile guys. Do either of those guys seem like potential Eagles to you?
Yeah, I liked Coney. I think that when you're watching him, he'll play a lot of pure press man. He looked really good doing it. Very productive. He's an older player that started his career at Indiana or junior college, then went from JUCO to Indiana State, played there for a couple of years, then moved to Western Michigan over the last 2 seasons. So hasn't played a lot of ball at a high level of competition. I will say, was probably more productive than, say, like Darius Alexander, the defensive tackle at Toledo. The flashes aren't quite as impressive with Cone, but just a rock solid player. I saw him as a backup corner. And then Ransaw is interesting. He has played a lot in the nickel over the course of his career at Tulane. 5'11", 197. He plays really hard. He plays bigger than his size, really good playing through contact, often asked to play in the box. And he looks terrific playing inside. That said, I had major questions about the overall athleticism and the speed. I was like, that's why I moved him to safety right away. And when the Senior Bowl announced him, I included when I tweeted out my quick write up on him, I was like, I think he's going to have to move to safety. And Jim Nagy responded right away. I was like, yeah, he's going to play some safety here in Mobile. And I think he did a little bit of that. Was mostly in the slot, but played some safety. But then he goes to the combine and he runs 4.33. And I'm like, I have never seen one rep of this guy where he looks like he runs 4.33. I've said this in the past that when guys test well, that can be a marker of high character players. And when guys underperform as testers, that can be a marker for the opposite. I've heard great things about Ransaw. And honestly, it's the same thing with Jahdae Barron. Jahdae Barron was not a guy I expected to test well either. But you hear everything about, great kid off the field. With Ransaw, he tested better than expected. I love the physicality. The position fit is going to be interesting. I do think he's better suited inside. And I think at the long term, he's probably a safety. Honestly, they're kind of similar to C.J. Gardner-Johnson in a lot of ways, in some of those ways.
I like that. Got anything else for our man?
I won.
You won. He did it.
Yeah, well done.
Francis.
No, that was great.
Spring break, halfway there, hump day.
You're not getting cut.
No, that was good. That was sufficient. That was sufficient. I had other questions, but I had one Eagles question, if I may.
Please.
And that is, and I know this is more of an opinion than something you've researched per se, but the Eagles had more success last year at the position than any other year in my time covering them, right? This has been a position that they've missed on more, whether it's from the scouting process, whether it's the development process. Do you think the Eagles are more confident in how they're either drafting or developing corners going into this draft based on last year's process, or do they look at it like that's a hard thing to duplicate?
I would say it's probably the latter. I would say it's probably you struck hot with both guys last year. Obviously, you're always going to have confidence in your convictions and in your evaluations, but yeah, it's a difficult position to peg down because there's a lot of variables in terms of like scheme usage and how we were talking. You mentioned Jahdae Barron earlier. Like, all right, like Jahdae Barron didn't become like a different player from 2023 to 2024. He was more productive, but we know that that production at this position can be very volatile and can be very up and down. And so we can have a whole episode just on this conversation, but yeah, I think that they're always going to feel confident in their evaluations across the board. But yeah, I mean, obviously that they hit and it hit well on both those top 2 picks last year.
All right, good stuff. You don't have to hang around for overtime if you don't want to, Fran. You can go hang with Francis, but that's up to you.
I mean, what are we talking about? Are we talking about furniture in overtime? What's on the docket?
About baby names.
I'll stick around.
All right,
stick around.
If you're going to stick around, that means you know what time it is. It's time for overtime.
Speaking of names, are there any other Frans in your phone?
Are there any other Frans in my phone?
Yeah. Like when you're texting Fran, are you ever close to texting the wrong person?
No. Okay. What you must you're bringing it up.
Drescher?
Right?
Well, I've done that in the past, but I was close to. I was texting Fran yesterday.
Are you able to share the other Fran that you were texting?
Well, I didn't end up texting him, but yeah.
Okay.
Fran Sirianni, Nick Sirianni's dad is like but that's no, but I was close to it. But I do a funny story
about that.
I do
I've got Franks, like
gotcha.
so they show up if I search Fran, but yeah.
So Emily, my wife, is in my contact card, my phone book by her maiden name. Okay.
Yeah.
And Jason Kelsey's manager, assistant, however you want to frame it, is also Emily R. Right. And so there was a time, and this actually relates to what you're about to go through, where I was, none of us had really slept. This was early on with Reed, and I text Emily, my wife, saying that he pooped all over me or something like that, or he took a big he took a big poop, something like that. And then I said Reed took a huge poop, something like that. I can't even look it up. And she responded, and I sent it to the wrong Emily. I sent it to, and so the Emily associated with Jason Kelsey responded something like good luck with that. And I didn't know that.
You didn't realize.
I didn't realize. Yeah. And so I wrote something like, look who developed a sarcastic bone when she was sleeping 8 hours, or something like that. And oh my God.
I have so much to say just to that.
I was and I was thinking about this. I could actually pull up the conversation, and it was, and
oh my God, the amount that your heart must have dropped once you realized.
Yeah, it was. I can tell you, I can tell you the exact message that I said here.
Oh, what a great story.
Yeah. Okay. I wrote, he's pooping.
Sure. That's so much better because it's so much more ambiguous.
Yeah. And
that could be third person.
The other Emily was so nice about it. Like I was very thankful for the update, and I said, "Did you develop a sarcastic gene overnight? Must have been during the 9.5 hours sleep. Not an advisable thing to say." And then,
I mean, that's not an advisable thing to say to your wife.
No question.
Yeah, not an advisable thing to say. Fortunately, both Emilys were very good about this. But this
and what was her response?
I mean,
eventually
she said, I don't think you slept a lot last night, something like that. Because she was very nice about it. Like, I'm thinking you got no sleep and you're mistaking me for your wife. And then, and then I felt horrible.
And what did you say then?
I mean, I apologize.
Like, oh my God,
I apologize
so
profusely.
Sorry.
I apologize profusely, and yeah.
And then he's pooping. That's also. Does she need the "he's pooping" text?
Probably not. Probably not. But yeah, it was. Yeah, not one of my finest hours. But I thought about this the other day. I was texting Fran about something, and I almost texted the wrong Fran.
I feel like that's got to be. That might even be merch.
No.
Just he's pooping.
I'm excited to see this on the PHLY Sickos Instagram account later.
Man, just the 2 words "he's pooping" is so good. All right, let's get to the super chats that we have. First from Claire, for the Sickos, a Baby Wolf name bracket update, please. Bad news is we've made very little progress. I think we're down to like 8 each for boy and girl. There's not much of an update. And the truth is Rachel's just going to decide it whenever she wants to. So we'll see. Matthew, I would love to put together a Bo compilation and have him explain himself on some of these comments. Well, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, which comments? Yeah.
I mean, feel free to put together the compilation, and I'll send it to you, or I'll give you my explanations. All right. What else you want to talk about?
We got Fran here. I was self-deprecating today. I volunteered that. So
yeah, that was great.
Yeah,
that was fantastic. Fran, we've got the PHLY draft show tomorrow at noon.
Yes.
And then
I think we're going to do it's a non-mailbag mailbag, right?
I thought we were doing that on Tuesday. I thought we were doing mock draft stuff tomorrow. I'm happy to.
We're talking about the mock draft. Yes.
Give some.
Yeah, we'll talk about the 7-round mock.
Talk around the 7-round mock, and then next Tuesday, most likely, I won't be here, and so I think maybe you and Zach will do the non-mailbag mailbag.
Oh, okay. All right. I was thinking.
See, look at you weaseling out of the non-mailbag mailbag.
Yeah, I was thinking of a different exercise for that episode. I'm happy to do that. But I was.
What do you got? Yeah. What do you got?
I was thinking of a live mock draft where we both play GMs, and so it's a little more dynamic than because you can't kind of manipulate the way things are going. So if I take this
I thought
player,
that was going to be an Eagles podcast show. Whatever, you can do whatever you want, but I thought that's what you were.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm sorry, I was referring to the Eagles.
I'm talking about the PHLY draft show with Fran Duffy.
Happy to do that. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Beautiful. Well, there we go. So we're all set for next week. Yeah, it's here for 8 days. It'll be fun. Thursday night's gonna be a lot of fun.
I can't wait for Thursday night. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
I mean, Saturday's gonna be fun too. Saturday's.
You
guys have never been. I mean, Bo, you haven't been around me in a while for day 3 of the draft. Day 3 is my favorite day. So day 3 is gonna be fun.
Of course. It's the best. We're going to be so loopy.
I know that feeling.
Yeah.
All right, Julia, how you doing? Oh, another super chat. Shay, could you sign my franchise copy? He's pooping. CB.
You know what, Shay? First off,
he's coming, right? He's
going Shay. And for anyone out in the Colorado area, I'm speaking with our friend Shil Kapati, our friend Lindsey Jones, tomorrow 4 p.m. Mountain Time at Canvas Stadium in Fort Collins. So please come, Shay. If you are there and you bring your copy, I am happy to sign PS in quotes. He's pooping. Happy to do that.
Zach said he said he'll do anything. He'll write anything you want except for Go Birds
or something like Eagles. Like
I love the Eagles.
Yeah, fanaticism. Yeah, exactly. Like Fly Eagles Fly. I wouldn't do that, but happy to do. He's pooping. If I run for office one day, that probably won't reflect well on me. But
do you plan to run for office one day?
No, I don't plan to run for office one day. It's just a figure of speech that, you don't want to put something out there. But I suppose I already did.
Can't rule anything out.
Yeah.
Was that the Stephen A. Smith line?
What would you run for?
What would I run for? Well, you have to work your way up. I suppose not always. But yeah. But in theory, you work your way up, and then Congress and Senate, and so. But yeah, I don't think it's happening. I'm just trying to.
It may not exist anymore, but
I'm trying to do a good show here. I'm sorry, I'm missing tomorrow. It really cuts at me that I'm missing JD McKilcuddy's tomorrow night. I wish I could be there, but I know you guys will do a great job.
Do you have any safety thoughts you want to get off your chest?
Real quick. I like this safety class. I'm high on Starks, higher on Starks than the South Carolina safety. I just think Starks is the better player. I really like the versatility that he has, and I do believe he is versatile. He doesn't just play multiple spots. It jumps out to me that he was able to play there early in his career. Xavier Watts is just an absolute ball hawk. Xavier Watts is like a fun player to watch in that regard. Both Penn State safeties, if you're not worried about the injury, Kevin Winston Jr., I think has like tools that can really be developed that intrigue me. Jalen Reed, I think it'd be like a decent, solid starter. So I like that group. And then is it Mukumba? Andrew Mukumba?
Makuba.
I'm sorry. He's someone who you heard a lot about when he was at Clemson, and it kind of never hit his potential. Did so last year at Texas. I would watch out for him because you can see it when you watch him play. So this is a better safety class. There might be a few that I'm missing, but this is a better safety class than you typically see.
All right. We're going to talk about it on tomorrow's show.
Yeah, I agree. The safety group's good. I'm excited to talk through that tomorrow. I honestly, one of my takeaways from doing the 7-round mock is that this cornerback draft is a little like underwhelming.
Yes,
like I didn't love this cornerback group overall.
Yeah, don't like the corners and the wide receivers, like the safeties and the running backs.
There you go.
There you go.
All right. Thank you, Fran. We'll see you tomorrow.
Guys, see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Julia. Zach, have fun at Colorado State. Make sure if you're anywhere in the Colorado area, you go check out your boy, ZB, in person. Say hi to Shield for us as well. On behalf of Francis. Bye, Francis. On behalf of Francis and Fran and Zach and Julia, we thank you for watching this show. Make sure you subscribe, like the comment again. I said like the comment again. Like the video, comment below, like the comment, like all the other comments. Keep that stuff bumping for the algorithm. And we'll talk to you tomorrow at 12 o'clock for the PHLY Draft Show with Fran Duffy, then 2 o'clock for the PHLY Eagles podcast. For all of us here, we'll talk to you tomorrow. And as always, he's pooping.
We all silly like the mayor.